So this is Jeff Wallis. He's a local archaeologist, and he was one of the team that excavated the Abingdon Ichthyosaur. Jeff, could you tell us something about the...
Yes, I certainly will, yes. Saturday afternoons in the 1980s were spent cycling to gravel quarries around Abingdon, and our interest in the gravel quarries, we were looking for these objects here, which is really a dirty old lump of stone, but in fact this is a Paleolithic tool. This particular example probably dating back to about 800,000 years. And these are found in the bottom of the gravel pits on the interface with a dark grey clay, which is part of the large Kimmeridge clay sequence, a Jurassic marine clay. The name Kimmeridge derived from Kimmeridge Bay in Dorset on the famous Jurassic coast. And down there, the sea is continually sort of washing into the cliff faces, coastal erosion, and fetching out absolutely magnificent examples of these marine reptiles. And down there, it's been very carefully collected for many years by a collector called Steve Etches, and he has since become extremely well known for his absolutely stunning collection, the Etches collection, which is now visitable as a museum down at Kimmeridge. So he has become one of the authorities on these particular creatures, which we can see laid out in front of us. I was, this was back in 1982, and I was wandering round down at the local gravel pits at Peep O'Day Lane, and this was actually a week before Christmas, and the pit floor had been washed by lots and lots of rain showers, so that exposes bone. And in one part of the quarry I came across one of these vertebrae, which you can see that there's a run of vertebrae, and one of these was quite prominent, sticking up out of the clay, and they tend to turn a grey-white colour as they get bleached by the rain and the sunshine. So I thought, that's pretty interesting. So I had my trowel with me, and I started to poke around this vertebrae. And then I started finding little tiny runs of ribs, and you can see a rib running around there. So that got me quite interested. But it was late in the day on the Saturday, so that was that for the day. So I phoned round a few friends for trying to get them to come out on the Sunday, and we did. And with a bit more troweling up and so forth, we began to expose quite a large group of bone, which appeared to be sort of in situ and not really disturbed by the action of the sea and the erosion and other marine reptiles as predators. So we managed to uncover pretty well what we see here. Our approach was using sort of archaeological techniques, and that process involves uncovering bone very, very carefully and trying to clean it as best we can for an overall photograph of the in this case this fossil in the ground. So we photograph first of all, and we can see the result of the photographic work just after the cleaning, which is up on this board here. I don't know if you can pick that out, but this is a stitching together of a series of photographs. And these were actually taken through a grid that we lay out on over the top of the skeleton. In this case, a metre square grid, so we can make a measured drawing as well. And that's quite an important part of the archaeological excavation, is to make records of our discoveries. And it's equally important with one of these skeletons, because there's still little known about the Ichthyosaur groups, but that's the result of a measured drawing, and this has been sort of tidied up and ready for sort of more of a publication drawing. But that's how it actually was in the ground over at the quarry. So after we'd done the measured drawing, then each of these was given an individual number, and then that was put on a plan, and then bagged up individually. Because as we can, I don't know if you can pick it out on the camera, but especially the ribs, they're very slender, brush slightly in the ground. Because I mean, you have to remember that this was sort of buried under a fair few tons of clay overburden. So these were individually bagged, and then they were glued back together to complete the run of rib. And as you can see here, we've got pretty well the full length of the body of this Ichthyosaur exposed here. The jaw system is fairly well represented. You can see that this is part of the lower jaw system running through here. We haven't got very many teeth, or I think there's only one or two little small conical teeth at the proximal end of the jaw run. These creatures, they didn't actually have jaw sockets. They had what we call a tooth groove, which runs down the length of the jaw system. The jaw system itself is very complicated, and it consists of a whole series of sort of overlapping, almost aerofoil shaped individual little tiny bones. And the teeth are held in ligament rather than physically having an individual sort of tooth socket, as in other beasties of this period. So we've got part of the snout. This is probably what the Ichthyosaur would have looked like in life, rather like a modern dolphin. This particular example is known as an ophthalmosaur, a subspecies of the Ichthyosaurian groups. And ophthalmosaur because they had very, very large eyes supported by what we call a sclerotic ring, which is a series of bony plates of rectangular section running around the very large eyeball. And those sclerotic rings help to support the eye when the creature is on the seabed. And it's helping to support the eye because of the pressure of the water, really. These were sort of seabed dwellers, and their long snout was able to sift through the seafloor and disturb ammonites. And I mean, this one here is picked out with an ammonite in the beak. So they were, predators for the ammonites. We can see there's some examples of ammonites here, aren't there? In that showcase over there, we've got some ammonites represented, and some of these are from the local quarries as well. To propel the beast along the seafloor, it had quite prominent fore limbs, and you can see an example of the forelimb here laid out. There's the humerus there, and then a whole series of little phalangeal bones running down to form a very paddle-like feature. And the front ones especially were pretty large, as you can make out here. And the rear limbs a fair bit smaller. Unfortunately, with this example, we have only a small humerus surviving from the rear part of it. There he is there. So it looks as if we've got probably about 2/3 of this this Ichthyosaur surviving, and the back half has gone, unfortunately. But it would have been a fairly huge example, really. The bones were all lifted out of the ground, and then we got it identified by a Mr. Delaire, who used to come into the Abingdon Museum and cataloguing all the fossil collections here. And he was able to pin this down to being an Ichthyosaur, and I think he arranged for it to be taken over to Bristol Museum and Art Gallery, as they have a huge collection of Jurassic reptiles there, and backup conservation facilities and the academic staff as well to help with the conservation and preservation side of this. And then it was really, it was brought back to Abingdon and has been donated to this museum as one of the sort of central focuses of the collections here. That's it, I think, on that front, yes.